Well, we could see a Sydney Powell lawsuit from the Trump administration as early as today. Sydney Powell is, I guess, was or is Trump's lawyer. We don't really know. I mean, Giuliani basically came out and said, she's not really a part of our team at all. She kind of operates on her own. She's in her own legal practice. She's not tied to the Trump administration. She doesn't represent the president. And yet she's going forward with lawsuits helping the president. In Georgia specifically, but she said this could go nationwide. Meanwhile, she's being laughed off of Fox News, which you never thought you'd see. So we'll get to all of that in a second. But she says she's today about to drop a bit of a bombshell, that she's got overwhelming evidence that the documents she has are so voluminous that shows widespread national fraud, not just like a few fraudulent voting situations unfolding in Georgia. No. There was a nationwide collaboration to defraud voters of their votes, and the election should go back to President Trump, and what is Biden up by, like 7 million votes at this point, that should be invalidated, and that Trump should get the election victory. So we're going to see that today. So she broke this news last night on Lou Dobbs' show, who was basically kissing her butt the entire show. Here's what she had to say last night on Lou Dobbs' show about what we could see unfolding today. I just want you to listen to just the nonsense that she's spinning about Venezuela and how this evidence is so overwhelming, and that somehow Donald Trump deserves a second term because there is a scheme devised by Hugo Chavez, who died in 2013, in order to sway votes from Democrats, or from Republicans to Democrats. See if you can follow this circuitous logic.
I think many Americans have given no thought to electoral fraud that would be perpetrated through electronic voting. That is, these machines, these electronic voting companies, including Dominion, prominently Dominion, at least in the suspicions of a lot of Americans. We don't even know who has actually seen this software work. We don't know where their servers are for sure. We know a couple of them are overseas.
First of all, we heard from Dominion spokesperson yesterday. They're not connected to the internet. These machines are not connected to servers. They're individualized machines that aren't connected to the internet. But go on, Tech Master.
And by overseas, I mean in Germany and Spain. It's just stunning that we have progressed this far with these companies and have permitted these entities that we don't know what their ownership is. We don't know what their possible bias is. How could this be?
Because of all the corruption in the country, we need to find a...
Oh, thank you for that. It's because of all the corruption in the country. How is that even an answer to the question?
Way to follow the money back as far even as when this was approved by the special government committee called CFIUS, CFIUS, which are the heads of the respective agencies at the time who approved Dominion coming into the country and running our elections. And I mean, Carolyn Maloney and Klobuchar and Warren have been raising Cain about this issue for a long time.
Right.
But nobody's done anything about it. And
as last year.
Yeah, and as best I can tell, both parties have any number of people who are at fault in the fact this has continued to play any role in our elections whatsoever. And we have no idea of who all has benefited from it. Somebody needs to do a massive money following investigation to find out who paid what to whom.
Well, you have promised a Kraken will be...
Yeah, have you been hearing this hashtag, right? So she's been promising, I'm going to unleash the Kraken, this massive bombshell of a lawsuit. I'm going to unleash the Kraken. When is the Kraken coming? That's going to shake everything up with all of your evidence. So much so that the Trump administration has walked away from her and said that we don't have anything to do with her. She's working on her own now. Even Rudy Giuliani, the man who went to the Four Seasons landscaping company next to a porn store and a crematorium, has distanced himself from her. Like, she's too crazy for Rudy Giuliani. When's this Kraken coming that you said was going to shake everything up?
unleashed. We were expecting perhaps your suit would be filed yesterday or today. When shall we expect your lawsuit?
Well, I think no later than tomorrow. It's just going to be, it's a massive document, and it's going to have a lot of exhibits.
It's going to have a lot of exhibits, so there's going to be a lot of evidence. There's going to be a lot of affidavits.
And who will be the defendant or defendants?
The defendants are going to be folks in Georgia who are responsible for supposedly making sure the elections in Georgia are done properly. And there are just countless incidents of voter fraud and election fraud writ large in Georgia. Writ large,
yeah.
In Georgia, are you planning any other suits beyond Georgia?
Yes, we are. We'll be rolling them out as fast as we possibly can, because it affected the entire country, actually. We even have an affidavit now from a distant state that's done by one of the election officials in the state, telling us all the things that person witnessed as being wrong there.
Oh, wow. A distant state. This really sounds serious. We just have a ton of affidavits. Let me remind you of the affidavits that we talked about yesterday here on the show in Maricopa County, where that judge laughed the Trump lawyers out of the courtroom because the way that those affidavits had been collected, they couldn't really separate the ones they knew were false from the ones that they think may or may not have been false, but they weren't really sure, so they still submitted them as evidence. So they're still able to submit them as evidence because there's very little likelihood that someone would actually get in trouble with perjury. So you just submit them anyway. There's very little chance that the court is going to come back and say, hey, you were full of crap. So you just submit them, even if you have no evidence whatsoever. This person thought that they were manipulated at the polls. We found them in an online forum. We had them fill out this affidavit. We're going to offer you a reward if you come forward, and then we'll submit it as evidence. Okay. There's been no evidence so far. But somehow she's sitting on volumes of it. And now the Trump administration has literally walked away from her in a week. So I guess she's doing this on her own. I don't know. I don't know who's paying her. Is it some super PAC that's paying her? Like, how's she making this money? Or is she doing this pro bono just to raise her position? Raise her brand awareness? I don't know. There's money coming from somewhere. If she's having to sit there and write a massive complaint that's going to be brought to the courts in Georgia, she's going to get paid. I'd love to know who's paying her. So Fox News took this on, and they took it seriously. And Tucker Carlson's show took her to task and really demolished her over the past few days. Had been having back and forth conversations with her. Please share your evidence with us. Like, please, what do you have? Like, what is this fraud you're talking about? Share it with us. We will show it here on the show. Come on the show. So listen to Tucker destroy Sydney Powell.
The Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence either, nor did she provide any today at the press conference. Powell did say that electronic voting is dangerous, and she's right. We're with her there. But she never demonstrated that a single actual vote was moved. The Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence. For more than a week, Powell has been all over conservative media with the following story. This election was stolen by a collection of international leftists who manipulated vote tabulating software in order to flip millions of votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. The other day on television, Powell said of Trump that when the fraud is finally uncovered, quote, I think we'll find he had at least 80 million votes. In other words, rigged software stole about 7 million votes in this election. Here's some of what Powell said today about the software.
One of its most characteristic features is its ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden. which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down in the states they shut down in.
The algorithm broke, by the way. They're not connected to the internet, but the algorithm broke. Okay.
That was a few hours ago, but Sydney Powell has been saying similar things for days. On Sunday night, we texted her after watching one of her segments. What Powell was describing would amount to the single greatest crime in American history. Millions of votes stolen in a day. Democracy destroyed. The end of our centuries-old system of self-government. Not a small thing. Now, to be perfectly clear, we did not dismiss any of it. We don't dismiss anything anymore, particularly when it's related to technology. We've talked to too many Silicon Valley whistleblowers. We've seen too much. After 4 years, this may be the single most open-minded show on television. We literally do UFO segments, not because we're crazy or had even been interested in the subject, but because there is evidence that UFOs are real and everyone lies about it. There's evidence that a lot of things that responsible people used to dismiss out of hand as ridiculous are in fact real. And we don't care who mocks it. The louder the Yale Political Science Department and the staff of the Atlantic magazine scream, "conspiracy theory," the more interested we tend to be. That's usually a sign you're over the target. A lot of people with impressive sounding credentials in this country are frauds. They have no idea what they're doing. They're children posing as authorities, and when they're caught, they lie and then they blame you for it. We see that every day. It's the central theme of this show and will continue to be. So that's a long way of saying we took Sydney Powell seriously. We had no intention of fighting with her. We've always respected her work. We simply wanted to see the details. How could you not want to see them? So we invited Sydney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. That's a big story. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her. When we checked with others around the Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence either, nor did she provide any today at the press conference. Powell did say that electronic voting is dangerous, and she's right. We're with her there. But she never demonstrated that a single actual vote was moved illegitimately by software from one candidate to another. Not one. So why are we telling you this? We're telling you this because it's true. And in the end, that's all that matters, the truth. It's our only hope. It's our best defense.
Wow. Truth. It's our only hope. So today, will we see a press conference? Will we see a lawsuit from Sydney Powell that actually has proof that millions of votes across the country in the greatest fraud scheme in American history has happened? Think about what would have to happen in order for that to happen. There would have to be massive collaboration in secret. And not just like Dominion voting machines, but as she points out, things that aren't even, like not even related to the Dominion voting machines. And this would have to be in municipality after municipality after municipality, which are not connected at all. And each of these municipalities handles their own elections. So the amount of fraud that would have to take place, premeditated, coordinated at a national level with no one knowing about it, moving millions of votes, using, as she says, an algorithm that ran rampant across the country, across machines that aren't even connected to the internet and aren't connected to each other. So this one machine over here is not connected to this machine, and yet somehow someone was able to use a thumb drive to shove a thumb drive into one of these machines, and boom, it just switches votes. That's what it does. Like a Willy Wonka machine. It out spits all these interesting new gumballs. Hey, show me the money. Show me the proof. And I tell you what, if there is massive fraud to the point where, wow, she's proven right, I will come back right on the show tomorrow. Tell you what, hey, judge looked at all the evidence. She's right. And I will come back here and tell you that she's right. But I don't see it. And she hasn't shown one iota of evidence yet that this has happened. So We'll keep watching it. Let me know your thoughts. Drop me a comment below. Thank you so much for subscribing to the show. I really appreciate it. And we will continue to keep our eye on that story.